Hi, it's Kamon Reynolds. In this video, we're mixing syrup, talking about some of the little things that we do to make our lives a little bit easier during this period. And if you're wanting to actively see me feed in this video, you're not going to, so watch that video up there. It's really short and you can see how we feed out of this tank. So right now I have 100 gallons in here, but only half of this is water. The other 50 gallons is actually 1-to-1 syrup that we made a little over a month ago, but it's still fine. I tested it today. It didn't taste fermented at all. Some people are like, what are you doing tasting that? Well, you gotta test it somehow, and I don't have a little gadget that'll do it for me. But the reason it lasted that long is because once I got done feeding most of the tank, I had about 50 gallons left over. The fall flow hit. We actually had a pretty good one here in Tennessee. So I'm not having to feed a whole lot. We're really just spot feeding, but a lot of them look really good. So that's awesome. But that's beekeeping. You might have 10 colonies that don't need feed and 5 that do need feed. So I put Hive Alive in it when I got done with the 1-to-1, and it's been about a month, maybe 5 weeks, and it's just fine. So that's one of the reasons I really like this product is 50 gallons of syrup is a lot of money. I don't want to waste it, and I also don't want it spoiling just a little bit and it hurting my bees. So the thymol in the Hive Alive really helps preserve that syrup, and thymol has a long history of being very good, especially in small dosages for bees. And so I threw that in there, and so I'll be using this later if I don't use quite all this, but this is going to be 2-to-1. And so this is just a tank, an IBC tote, and then I have another tank or two of Pro Sweet syrup. I get that from Man Lake, and some people are like, Kamon, you can just feed that straight. You're absolutely right. You can feed Pro Sweet straight to the bees. However, I can't pump it through my feeder rig when there is just thick syrup. It won't do it, especially if it's cool, but it just won't handle it at all. So I've got to add at least 10% water content to that Pro Sweet so my pump can just bam, 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 about 15 seconds a 2-gallon feeder, which is really nice. And so that's one of the reasons I dilute it. The other reason is so I can mix this in. I feed this typically coming out of winter and going into winter. I don't get paid to do these plugs. I just really like this stuff. As someone who's done agriculture in the past, I want to have good products that are nutritional and help my bees out during the stress periods. I run a business, and so to me, as long as I can see that it at least breaks even, like I get enough gains to pay for the product, I'm going to buy the product. I feel like I get more than that with these products, and so that's why I use them. But there's a lot of products out there you can blow your money on, and it just really depends on how intensively you run your bees as well. So there's a lot of variables there. But this is the Apis Biologics. They call it biometabolic fuel now. It used to be biocontrol. We just call it rocket fuel. It's a lot easier to remember. And it is just this powder right here. And it is just chock full of minerals and acids and all kinds of natural compounds that are found in nectar. They've tried to formulate that all to mimic nectar as close as possible. So I want to get this diluted so I can mix this in. And also the bees impart some stuff themselves into syrup if it's thin enough. If it's straight Pro Sweet, they can't. But I've done straight Pro Sweet in the past and had no problem. So yeah, the Pro Sweet comes from Man Lake. This comes from Apis Biologics. When people buy the pollen patties at the conference by the semi-load, their other product is what is in those great pollen patties. Let's get these pouches out of here to keep it from getting moist and possibly clumping. I just got this trickling out right now, just enough to clean this pouch out. I'm gonna fill this tank all the way full. Now, what I really like about using a syrup like Pro Sweet or something like that, can't waste any of it, is that this Pro Sweet won't ferment in the tank. It's like 3-to-1, maybe a little bit stronger than that. I don't know exactly, but it's very, very thick. Not quite as thick as honey, but it's quite thick. So it's not going to ferment in my tank unless I add water to it. And the other nice thing about it is that the bees just really take to it quite good, even if it's thick or if it's thin. It's a good product. Occasionally I'll have to decrystallize it. Most of the time the Pro Sweet doesn't need to be decrystallized. But I'll mix this in, chuck it into the hives. I can use frame feeders when it's around 80 degrees. Once we start getting temps where it's not getting any higher than 60 degrees Fahrenheit, that's really where your bucket feeders and your jars are going to come in handy. It's much easier to get bees to take syrup at cooler temperatures with a jar right over the bees. Like the cluster needs to be right underneath it. And a frame feeder really doesn't work well unless the colony is massive. If it's a powerful colony, wall-to-wall bees, oh goodness, they could probably take it at 40 degrees outside. But those powerful colonies can almost do anything. It's really impressive. But mixing this is so much nicer at 2 to 1. So for those of you who have tried to mix 2 to 1 with regular granulated sugar, I never was really successful at that. You take your white sugar from the store, you take your water, you get the water boiling hot or really close. And some people say, don't boil it, it's going to cause problems. No, it won't. It cools down so rapidly from the sugar. There's no harm to your bees. There's some people that even boil the water and add the syrup and then mix it in as it cools down. That's not a problem. What's a problem is if you heat it for a long period of time and you start to darken that syrup significantly, start to caramelize it. But with the Pro Sweet, it's so easy just to dilute it down to the 2 to 1 consistency, which is super hard to do with the sugar because it gets so super saturated and it does not want to stay in the water. And what will happen is oftentimes if you mix it in a bucket or you mix it in IBC tote or whatever it is, you're going to have a layer of sugar at the bottom of your container. And that's really hard to recover. It's just annoying. Obviously you didn't get your 2 to 1 to your bees either. I never have that problem with syrup. You just do a little bit of a ratio and boom, you got it. So some of you are wondering, Kamon, if I get Pro Sweet or something like that, where can I find some ratios? And you're in luck. I am going to post a link or something down below where you can access it. A couple of my buddies here in Tennessee put it together. It's very simple and easy to do. But there's several ways to do this. Some people don't want to feed their bees ever, and those are their bees. However, as someone who's kept bees for over 20 years, there are bees all over the place right now. I got some hives that I can pull food from. I have some hives that literally have 1 frame of food, and it's October. There's no more fall flow left. They're not going to make it without some help. Does that mean I'm going to breed from those? I want to make more swarms off of that and get that genetics going in my yard? Probably not, but sometimes it's not the genetics. Sometimes we catch a late swarm. Sometimes we have all these weird things happen. Sometimes the fall flow just doesn't happen. And even when it does, if a colony's on its back foot prior to it, it just isn't going to build up and have the forager population to be able to take it in. So the big colonies, they might add 30 pounds. Your little colonies might only add 5. That's not going to be enough to go through winter. Nature is just as brutal as it is benevolent. It just depends on what season, what month, what year it is, on what it's going to do. And as beekeepers, we're trying to smooth the gaps out to help our bees survive. So, other than that, nothing else is going on around here. Real quick, I guess, it's so important when you have liquid on the back of your truck or whatever it is, your trailer, it needs to be secure. As someone who's pulled a semi for several years and a few other crazy things, that was a fun trip. I'll talk more about that later. You need a secure load. And some of these beds, especially aluminum ones, but even these steel beds can get so slick. And so this is a exercise mat right here. You can find them at Goodwill. You can also, just buy them. There's other types of mats out there, rubber mats used for horses and various things. And they work awesome. It's just a complete game changer. This thing won't scoot at all. These 2 straps are almost overkill, but when you have all this mass, it is a problem. So secure your load, get 2 heavy-duty straps on there, make sure it's not able to slide. Is it overkill? Yes. But when you have someone coming a little tight on a curve and maybe you messed up a little bit yourself, you don't want this load to move. And I've had them move before. It is not a good feeling. And I definitely don't want to send one off into the road and maybe hurt somebody. So besides that, I think that's it for today. Thanks for tuning in, and take care of your bees. October is the time to get with it. Get in those hives. I know it's cool some days. I don't care. Get in there, see what your bees are doing. It'll be just fine. We do it all the time, even up in Wisconsin, which I was just there yesterday. We'll see you in the next video.